This is our weekly 30-minute session where we come online, give you some tips and tricks around working with Apache Kafka and what we're seeing in the marketplace today. So again, today we'll be talking about data mesh practices, specifically for event-driven architectures and Apache Kafka, but also what this means for an organization and how we're helping our customers accomplish these initiatives today. Next week, we'll be talking about the data lineage of your Kafka microservices. So ties into a very relevant topic and increasingly important when we're mapping where data is coming from, where is it going to. And we'll wrap up January talking about when connectors fail, how to prevent this, and then how to handle those events when it does happen with alerts and automatic restarts. Again, I'm your host, Adam Noonan. Joining me today is our top technical talent. We have Stefan, our Director of Engineering. Andrew will be helping me present. He's our CTO. We'll have a nice demo by Adamos, who owns product. Matthias is online as well to answer questions. He's our professional services consultant. And our CEO, Guillaume, is here as well. So who are we? We are Lens.io. We provide the ideal developer experience for multi-Kafka and multi-cloud environment. So whatever flavor of Kafka you're running, event-driven systems, we provide the ideal developer experience on top of that, allowing you to make those infrastructure decisions yourselves and providing the ideal unified plane of experience for data operations. We also do a ton with data integration, so deploying and developing new Apache Kafka connectors, partnering with quite a few customers and infrastructure providers on deploying and developing connectors for their source systems. So if you have a connector that you're working on locally, feel free to let us know. We can talk about including that into our repository and offering it for support to the wider ecosystem. So today we'll be talking about data mesh, what this means as an initiative, everything it includes, pros and cons, what to keep in mind, and what problems it addresses. With that, I'll hand it off to Andrew Stevenson, CTO, to talk about the problem we're looking to address.
Hi everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me. I'm doing this from my car in a car park in the middle of North Holland at the moment. But what I want to first talk about is the centralized platform team. Now, what I mean here is centralized platform team. In my experience, this is typically those doing the ETL work. Maybe you've come from a data warehousing background. I worked for about 10 years as well. And what your core responsibility there is generally working with the ETL frameworks. You have to understand that could be Spark, it could be Flink, it could be Bash scripts, it could be whatever you're using to move data around, and also then to the target data systems. In my experience, that was the big data stack, the SQL Server. It could be the newest stacks as well that are around. There's lots of them. So you have to concentrate on your tech stack of how to move the data in, what the intricacies of that tech stack is, how they work. Plus, now you've got all the cloud infrastructure as well to contend with. And on top of that, typically you would also have the governance around it, making sure that you have the security, who can access what data and where, plus all the data modeling. This is why a lot of data warehouse projects I've seen in a long time failed, because there was a constant effort on data modeling. And why did it fail? Basically because you become overloaded. There are so many people wanting you to do things. I used to have a line of people standing at my desk wanting me to build things for them to move data around. So these centralized teams become overloaded. They become the bottleneck, a huge bottleneck, which stops and slows down the innovation. And one of the major things that I really struggled with, and I've heard this a lot as well, is you have to start understanding about all these different domains. So in the case when I worked in a data warehousing team, it was for a trading firm. So not only did I have to understand all the technology stack, I had to understand about exchange traded funds, about option theory, everything to go with it, to understand what that data was and to be able to effectively report on it, join the correct data as well. And another thing as well, there's a lot of compliance and governance around that, but not everyone needs it. And this can actually slow the teams down as well. And plus, this is only getting worse as more and more people want to integrate data systems so they can actually build out their AI capabilities. So the demand is only increasing on this platform team, and it's the bottleneck. And in some cases, it's not scaling very well. So if we move on to the next slide, please, Adam. So how do I do this? How do I share and integrate all my data without all these problems? And how do I share it quickly with all the governance in place as well, because we can't just forget about the governance, it's a core pillar as well. So one of the solutions to this is the data mesh. So I'll go on and explain on the next slide what a data mesh is about. So what it is, it's an architectural pattern. It's not purely a technological thing. It's important to recognize that it's more an organizational architecture of new way of thinking around it. Basically, what you want to be doing is how fast can I share my data? And the people who know the data best are the people who produce it. So it's about shifting the responsibility for the movement of data, creating data products down to data teams. So in a data mesh, you typically have three pillars. This is what I see in it as well. You have the governance layer that doesn't disappear. You still have the compliance, GDPR, regulations to handle as well, if you want to share this data as well. And then you've got a data platform. Right? And this is where your centralized platform team comes back in. But what they need to be focused on is providing tooling and services so people can actually build data products faster. And then this is the big shift for me is where you actually push the responsibility and the ownership down to the domain. What I mean by this, it could be a invoicing system, right? Those teams, they build their client-facing applications, the operational systems, and they actually then take ownership not only for that, but also how they produce and they share data. They do that by building data products, and they build those data products typically using the self-service data platform that is provided by the core team. Okay, so if we move on to the next slide, Alan, please. So what benefits does this bring, right? We've already talked about it, domain expertise. If you're working in a specific area, invoicing, for example, or you're on an option trading desk, then typically you'll know a lot more about that data than I would if I'm coming along and trying to extract your data and put it into a data lake. It also gives you that scalability and flexibility because within your domain, you can choose the best technology that you want that most fits your needs. But when it comes to publishing the data, obviously there's a set of standards that you want to adhere to. It allows you to move faster, right? Again, if it's all within your control, you have the ownership of it. You're not waiting for this centralized team to pick it up, and you can actually get your data products out to market faster. And of course, then it encourages innovation as well. So we move on to the next slide. Yeah, and this is what I find actually the key point here, building the data products, right? This is the mind shift then rather than saying, okay, there's a centralized team, go off, extract the data and put it into a data warehouse. The domain team takes full responsibility for ownership to do that. But they obviously need the tooling to do it. So they need to be able to build, to ingest data, right? They need to be able to publish data. They need to be able to transform data. We can do that with our own SQL process as well. Maybe they want to write their own applications to it. And more importantly as well, they also need to be able to monitor it. So if you have the context on the alerting, I don't know it as a central platform team. I don't know anything about your data. So I'm not really clued up on how the alert should be set up for records received per day, minute, what the consumer lag should be, how that fluctuates throughout the day. You know that it's your domain, it's your data. So what's actually in a data product? It could be anything. It could be a Kafka table. It could be a Kafka topic. Sorry, it could be a table. It could be a file. But really, what you want to have a contract around it. So this in the Kafka landscape, this is where the schema registry would come into place. It also needs to be discoverable, right? We also have a data catalog because you need to know what data is out there, how it's used, what the freshness of it is, what the quality of it is, who owns it as well. So you need to be able to have the ability to add all the metadata into it. And you also need to follow a life cycle, right? You need to be able to see if this is production data, how often is it going to be retied soon, how reliable is it that we can, so I can build on top of it. Okay. And now, Adam, I think I hand back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks, Andrew, for walking us through the concept of data mesh, data products, and how it's more than just an architectural and technology decision. It's driven internally by an organization, similar to DevOps, how you have a shift in a mindset and paradigm, including these technological components. When we're talking about a data mesh too, increasing the availability and shareability of data, decentralizing the access and democratizing the actual access of data while making sure only the appropriate people can view specific data sets that are relevant to them. It does impact the architectural and technology decisions that you need to make. Previously, what we've seen in the ecosystem is maybe 3 Kafka clusters are sufficient. You've got your dev, staging, and production, and that's fine for running your event-driven applications, microservices that are using Kafka as the background, as well as these streaming data analytics pipelines. Increasingly, we're seeing that is insufficient, and current trends in the market seem to be a wide number of disseminated Kafka clusters, some of them at edge for low latency, manufacturing IoT workloads. You've got your data analytics workloads that can be a little bit more spread out, everything localized within a region. Now, increasingly, we're seeing a demand for Gen AI and machine learning workloads. It's that middle ground in between a data analytics pipeline and event-driven architecture system. So typically with our customers, we're seeing in the market today way more than 3 Kafka clusters. This could be for geography, for lower latency, but also disseminated between actual domains and owned increasingly less and less by a core platform team, by the actual domain owners and those data product owners. And at Lenses, our goal is to be able to enable these data mesh initiatives, the sharing of data, and eventually the innovation within companies. So what are we doing as far as this new decentralized architecture with distributed Kafka cluster systems? And for that, we are launching our 6.0 version of Lenses developer experience, which will be a fully multi-Kafka platform with your unified view across your entire ecosystem of Kafka clusters. So whether they're running Confluent Community on premises or MSK in the cloud, or each and every. So our multi-Kafka Lenses developer experience will provide that unified view and decouple the actual infrastructure away from the actual operations. So enabling that access to non-technical users who might not be as fluent about, okay, it's in this topic, in this cluster. We abstract all that underlying complexity away and give them a unified view to be able to access their data when they need it. And the easiest method for that, obviously following all the data mesh guardrails of governance and privacy. So the first step, along with a multi-Kafka operations to enable a disseminated architecture and follow the data mesh principles, is global identity and access management. So we have a unified view across our entire ecosystem. The first thing we're going to need is a governance structure in place to enable my internal consumers, but also my data product owners to be able to access their data and manage these data products across the entire ecosystem. And Adamos, I believe I'll hand it off to you and you can give us a quick demo of what we've got in the works as far as multi-Kafka operations. So we're all super excited about this. I think this might be the first public showing of the
I
new
think,
platform.
yeah, thanks, Adam. But yeah, we're in a lucky and very happy position to give you a sneak peek of what's coming, the stuff we've been building around the concepts of basically scaling innovation through allowing not just one Kafka for your whole organization, but really the data mesh concepts and allowing for many Kafkas used by different teams, safely sharing data across. So what you're looking at here is the multi-Kafka experience of Lenses that we're working on, where you can see these things here, they are environments by themselves. You might be used to how Lenses looks on a per environment basis, and where you have your data catalog of topics in a particular Kafka. This new Lenses works across all of your environments and unifies the way you understand them, the way you manage the data, the way you manage how things are accessed and shared. And interestingly enough, we're taking some ideas from the pages of domain mesh. This is a flat list, but actually there's more awareness here. First, we are aware of the tiers of environments. We know what is a development, what is a staging, what is a production, because that allows Lenses to offer a lot of value by being able to help you self automatically promote changes through GitOps from development to staging to production. And again, because we are multi-Kafka aware. But also we're introducing the concept of a domain, which is, as we spoke, a data mesh concept, the whole domain-driven design. So you can see in this particular case, we've decided to name our domains by regions. So you can see how now certain Kafka environments are in Dublin, others are in Frankfurt or Oregon. And this is just a taste of how you can start understanding now this huge ecosystem of real-time data that you have business units in domains through regions, all that coming together. And of course, the big first challenge is how do you govern access to this big new world? And this is what we've been working on with our IAM, the idea that you can have teams represented as groups, and with each team, you can actually fully control what they can access, not just on one environment, but on any environment you want. And you can be as specific, as granular as you want, or as generic. And here's just an example of an engineering group that has access to a few development environments and a prod. Here's another group, let me see, a more interesting one that actually has access that spans across different domains and different regions. And of course, we are making the most of the good things that we've brought already with lenses. So the concept, you have your users that will automatically log in through single sign-on, and you also have service accounts for your automated interaction with lenses, your automation, your CI/CD, all that good stuff is still here. So yeah, that's a very short taste of things that are actively coming. And yeah, can't wait to talk more about it in the coming weeks. And that's it from my side.
Fantastic. Great sneak peek to what we have in the works as far as enabling the mesh initiatives, everything you can do to fuel innovation within your company, especially with the increased focus on AI and machine learning and these new workloads. Awesome. So we've covered the importance of a unified view, decoupling infrastructure from operations. The first piece you're going to have included in that required is a global governance system and identity and access management. The Damos just demoed. The next step you're going to want to have included in your data mesh platform is a data catalog. So not only are users going to need to access data and view it in that governance structure, they're going to need a system for understanding the data that they can view and access. So they're going to need a unified catalog where they can go and ask questions about what sort of data sets and data products I can access, who would be the owner of that data product, who should I contact before consuming, what channel should I subscribe to for any schema change, all of that good stuff and information, hosting that data contract and the metadata about the data you want to consume and fuel your workloads would be included in our unified data catalog. Again, something we have in place and put a lot of thought into in the product today, but more to come as far as the multi-Kafka disseminated architecture too for the aggregate level across your full data ecosystem. And if there's any questions about everything we're presenting, feel free to chime in the chat. We'll try to reserve a few minutes at the end here for Q&A. We've already established you've got your unified system, governance is in place, identity and access management. I'm signed in with SSO. I can access my data catalog and understand the data sets I can view. Now I need to be able to share and replicate that data across my system so I can make the most of it and actually derive value from that data product. And so for Lenses, what we're doing to enable data sharing is quite a few features that come together synergistically with SQL Studio, SQL processors for transforming and working with data, but increasingly connectors for connecting to external source systems. Top of mind for us right now would be our sync to S3. So we recently did a demonstration of the backup and restore of Kafka data as is to S3, and also specific partitioning requirements and how you can fulfill those with our S3 connector, which we do provide enterprise support on, and we've partnered with a few customers to develop specific features and functionalities that they're looking for in our S3 source connector, sync connector as well. And increasingly, we're seeing S3 as this integration point from Kafka and other source systems because, one, it's so flexible. You can store whatever information, the structure there, the size, and it handles replication within S3 very well. But also, it's a known consumption point and ideal for developers working with, especially these new generative AI workloads. It's very easy to consume and understand and access. So as long as you can sync to S3, it's typically the ideal platform for data sharing. Beyond S3 too, we're partnering with some of our largest customers and a few infrastructure providers to develop source and sync open source connectors for their external source systems to pull data into Kafka for streaming to other applications, but then also syncing to these external source systems for consumption and deriving value out of that data product. So if you're working on a connector internally right now, a homegrown connector, and you'd like to talk with us about the features you're working on and what those requirements are, we'd love to have that conversation. Definitely check out our Stream Reactor repo to see everything that we have. Again, everything is Apache 2, open source. So if you're paying for a license connector right now and you'd like to move off of that contract, but still be supported, that's definitely something we are providing for our customers today, and really driving forward that data mesh where now you have the unified view, decoupling infrastructure from operations. I can see all my data, I can understand it with the data catalog, and now I can quickly and easily share that. And to give you a quick demo of just how easy it is in Lenses, I'll pull up our interface as it is today as I juggle these screens. Awesome. If you can see my screen, I'm here at our Lenses user interface, looking at the lineage of my data as it's coming in, getting an understanding of, okay, I have an application here writing to my topic. I have some SQL processors working with the data, but then I have these output topics that aren't being consumed. So maybe I want to share this information, this data product with my wider team. With Lenses, we enable even non-technical users to do this. So you don't need to be an advanced Java developer or a Kafka developer per se. You can just jump to our connectors page, see everything that's running here. You can jump to new connector. And we provide these connectors out of the box. Again, you can find these in our Stream Reactor repo, but it's also very easy to bring your own connector to our interface too. So all of that nice governance structures will still apply. Everything is audit logged, and I can be sure that even my non-technical data product owner can come online. They have a nice IDE, which will provide some initial air handling for them and make working with these connector configurations as easy as possible. Awesome. If I can jump back to these slides. Perfect. So full circle, what we're seeing in the market today, how we're enabling that. Thank you so much for joining this session. Definitely tune in next week. We're talking about mapping the data lineage for your Kafka microservices. Very relevant to what we discussed today, so definitely a continuation. And with that, we'll open up to questions and answers. So if you have any questions about anything we've talked about today, anything you're working on, I think we might have some answers for you, given the amount of technical talent we have on the call today. And if you're feeling shy, don't want to come online and ask, totally fine to the world. Definitely feel free to reach out to us on our community Slack. Totally open. We've got an active community there. You can interface with our team, but also customers and people using our product and understand what value they're getting out of our platform today and how to tackle any little technical issues that you might be encountering working on. Was there any little tidbits or information about the data mesh you feel itching to provide? I'm sure got some tidbits.
Yeah, we'd love to get feedback from those on the call or the community of, yeah, how you're building your data mesh. If anyone's already advanced in that stage, some challenges that you're incurring that maybe we could address in Lenses in the current feature set or future feature set. So yeah, we'd love your feedback. And also should say if there's any subjects that you'd like us to cover on these sessions, also feel free to drop us a little message and we can add that to the schedule. But if that's right, Adam.
Absolutely. Yeah. We need topics. So if there's anything you're working on, anything you have questions about that you'd like to hear our perspective on, anything we can help out with, feel free to let us know. We'll include it in the session. If you'd like to guest present too, I could talk less and you could come online and share with us your perspectives maybe.
You might have some competition, Adam. Yeah.
That would be just fine. That'd be the spirit of the data mesh, right? They'd come online with the data product owner, present it, and share it to the wider audience. Well, definitely join us on the community. Definitely tune in next week. We'll be covering data lineage. With that, we are Lenses.io, enabling your event-driven architectures and all the good stuff that comes with it. Thank you so much for joining today, and hope you have a great weekend. See you next week.
Right.